It's been smooth sailing thus far for the Louisville Cardinals. 2 blowout victories with 10 games to go. We've talked a lot about the strengths of the team, but what are some concerns? Well, we're going to identify the main ones coming up on today's episode of Locked On Louisville.
You are Locked On Louisville, your daily podcast on the Louisville Cardinals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, Cardinal fans? Welcome into this special Friday edition of the Locked On Louisville podcast. I'm your host, Dalton Pence. I want to personally take this time to thank you all for making us your first listen of the day. Just a reminder, Locked On Louisville, free and available on all streaming services 5 days a week. Your team every day. Joining us for his weekly episode, coming on as the co-host, it is the stateoflouisville.com's football analyst, Grant Mulligan, also known as G Money, for those with knowledge of what Grant brings to the table. What's going on, G?
What's going on, everybody? It's great to be back. A little boring, man. It's a little bye week. Did anybody happen to catch the Los Angeles Chargers game this Sunday? Just curious for the fans out there.
For those that know ball.
Did anyone happen to see the Los Angeles Chargers defeat the Las Vegas Raiders 22-10?
I just have one question for you, Grant. Who has it better than us?
Nobody.
Preach. A lot of great stuff. It is the bye week, but we're slowly getting closer and closer to game week. 10 games left on the schedule. We'll talk about what are some main concerns surrounding the Cardinals. We'll also go into a little bit of recruiting. Do the Cardinals have the next hometown hero committed to the program? We'll discuss, and then we will dive into a trademark buy-sell hypothetical at the end of the show. I do want to tell you that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off of your first purchase. Grant, let's not waste any more time as we get into this. A lot of great things have been said from the Louisville side of things, right? It feels like no matter what they do, they'll never get the attention from those across the conference or the nation. But 2-0 or 2-0 really haven't shown much in terms of play calling. It's been rather bland in that regard. But Louisville's been able to do that, 2-0, 2 blowout wins. The main concerns, though, what's one concern that you have for this team as they sort of head into the meat of their schedule?
So this is one that came out to me, especially in the first game, because it came to light when people started talking about Pierce's first showing for the season, and a lot of people came away disappointed. And I wanted to look at that, not just at face value. I wanted to look into maybe what went on around him, because it's not just about how the quarterback plays that goes into the end result. And some other people pointed this out as well, is the depth on the offensive line. It's something that actually you and I coming in to the season talked about as a possible strength for this team, and something that I really did think was going to be a strength. And there's some spots on the line, such as right guard, where you have the Austin Collins, Renato Brown, who are both viable starters at that particular spot. But when you watch those other reps for against Austin P especially, and that's most of who I'm going to be talking about when I talk about this issue, is we're looking at a group that on paper should be one of the deepest parts of our roster, but there was a very, very clear discrepancy between the first group and the second group. And because this is the group number one, obviously we know about the super talented guys up front, like Michael Gonzalez. We know the hype around Monroe Mills when he came in. We've got a lot of great guys in the starting group. However, I really expected there to be more similarities in terms of level of play when we got to that second group, because, again, we're playing, not to be disrespectful, but we're playing an inferior defensive line than what we're going to see in ACC play. And it's a defensive line that, quite frankly, got manhandled by our first team offensive line. It wasn't even remotely close. And now some of that I want to credit to maybe they're not quite as used to playing together. In that group, there's less experience. But there's some guys in the second team that have some experience. They have some starts. So I think it's a group that has a lot of potential to improve. It's a lot of guys who we have a lot of excitement for, especially left guard number 2, Madden Sanker, guys like that. I just want to see him elevate the level of play. I want to be like, I came into the season and you and I talked about how excited we were about this being one of the deepest Louisville offensive lines that we could remember. And I came away from watching Pierce's first game action thinking he could have done better in some spots, but the offensive line wasn't doing him any favors either. There was some very clear, it wasn't just physical body of play either. A lot of it was it looked like there was very clear missed assignment or communication issues. So whatever that happens to be, I hope it gets cleared up because the talent back there certainly warrants a play level than what they showed with the second team offensive line.
I do wonder if members of that second team OL would be a little bit more effective, knowing that you're probably not going to have to see a brand new starting five. You know what I'm saying? Like you won't ever have to see them play together unless it is a blowout. And hopefully that is in the favor of the Cardinals. But maybe if they're around guys like Monroe or Pete or Jonathan or whoever's starting at right guard, just that's able to slide in and be able to play seamlessly. I think the main focus for Louisville moving forward, I sort of mentioned this on the show this week a couple times. The major concern that I have is, will Louisville be able to contain running quarterbacks? And it doesn't just have to be a quarterback that is known for running the ball, but just those that are able to get out and extend plays and drives with their legs. Now, I know that Jacksonville State had a quarterback rushed for over 100 yards. If it was just an isolated incident, I wouldn't necessarily be all that concerned because Louisville didn't really show much defensively. They were an autopilot. You didn't see many stunts. You didn't see much of an issue in that regard, right? It was just more so they did what they had to do. But last year it was a consistent problem. And you're going up against Haynes King next week, who's known for doing just that, extending plays. Cam Ward, I don't even want to think about playing against Cam Ward coming up here shortly. And then not to mention other quarterbacks, Thomas Castellanos being another one. This schedule is filled with quarterbacks that can extend drives with their legs. So that's the major concern for me is, can Louisville do what they couldn't do last year? And that is contain mobile quarterbacks.
And it's just like you said, we've got a stretch coming up here. Haynes King, Riley Leonard, a guy who's known for athleticism. Cam Ward, don't make that face. Don't make that face. Regardless of how you feel about his throwing ability, what he did well.
He's got to run. He can't throw it downfield.
Okay, we're going to move on from that.
Northern Illinois said, all right, we're going to make you throw the ball.
Beyond that, Calandria. We saw that whenever we played Calandria the first time. He has legs to extend plays. Sure. While Cam Ward is absolutely a pass-first guy, he has the athleticism to extend. And you know that a guy who's that smart at the game is going to watch our defensive tape and know that he can run against us.
You give him space. You give him space. He's not just going to get the first down. He's going to nonchalantly run like he has no interest and pick up 30 yards like he did against Florida. And it's just going to be – you've got to change something. Grant, the main question that I'm going to ask you is, does the game against Jacksonville State, the quarterback going for over 100 yards, now most of that came in the second quarter, are you worried more like did that increase your worry any? If you would have had a game against Jacksonville State where, let's say he has 30 yards, does your level of concern, how much did it increase due to last week's performance?
A lot. If it was an isolated incident, then I would feel a little better about it. Just shaking the rust off. And in college football, across the landscape, mobile quarterbacks have always fared very well because it is a challenging thing to defend when you have the talent discrepancy in the college, and not every team is on the same level playing field in terms of athleticism they may have at the linebacker position or at safety or corner. But we have absolutely the talent to contain these guys. And I want to believe that Ron English is going to have a game plan, especially for guys like Castellanos, who could tear us apart with the legs if he does what he's done early in the season so far. He's the biggest running threat that I'm worried about on our schedule. He's arguably, and probably not arguably, the best running quarterback in the ACC right now. So, and we're getting him at home Friday night game. That's just, I want to see what we look like in actual ACC play. I think against Haynes King will be a great marker for, was it that we weren't showing a lot because we know that there are running quarterbacks coming up, and we don't want to show that because the ACC is actually a very mobile quarterback field right now.
You'll know right away in that game against Georgia Tech.
You'll know right away because the Georgia Tech coaching staff has seen our first 2 games. They're watching that tape, and they see that as an exploitation right now.
And G-Money, I think, forgive me for interrupting. That's the word, interrupting. The word of the day is interrupting. Forgive me if from interrupting, but I feel like that it's different for Georgia Tech because the way that you beat Georgia Tech is you make Haynes King one-dimensional. You force him to throw the football because when you allow him to get out in space and make some stuff happen, that's when he gets dangerous. That's what they did in the second quarter against Louisville last year, and he got so much space, and he forced Louisville to stay honest. If you're able to get them in third and long situations, I think you honestly have to deploy a spy all game long against him.
100%. 100%. And we have linebackers and defensive backs who are capable of spying. It's just a matter of what we have in our defensive game plan.
Tamari McDonald, just have him spy all game long. Him, Antonio Watts. Even I think he's athletic enough. Put TJ Capers out there, man. If you want to find a role for him, let him be that spy out there. But nonetheless,
Clark, man.
Yeah, I mean,
we have Ben Perry. We have the athleticism.
You have the dudes, and I think that these concerns aren't like damning for Louisville. It's just that something that Louisville's just going to have to show that, hey, look, we're okay. We're good on this side.
We're not here to sunshine pump about this either.
No,
we need to talk on this pod about.
You have to. You have to.
About because what really concerns us.
You've got to be realistic. You've got to be realistic. We haven't talked about recruiting in a while, G-Money. Want to get into some recruiting?
Get into a little bit of recruiting, man. You know that's my favorite topic.
Recruiting. Louisville might have their next hometown hero. It might be unlikely when you hear about the star ranking, but let me describe to you why I believe that this player can be the next hometown hero. We'll tell you who that is coming up on the next segment of Locked On Louisville. Today's episode of the show brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. It has you covered with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You always find exactly what you're looking for with eBay's Guaranteed Fit. Your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or you get your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fits only available to U.S. customers. And also, before we get into the next segment of the show, I want to tell you about our friends over at LinkedIn Jobs. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. You want to know a fun fact? I just started a new job last week, and I applied for that job back on LinkedIn in August, went through the interview process, and found the right fit for me. You can do the same by going to LinkedIn.com by checking out all of the LinkedIn jobs. And if you're on the other side of the table, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. It's not just another job board. It helps you hire, not fire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for the role. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
I can't believe you just hit the fans with a double ad read, man. That's crazy. That's crazy. You back to back.
You interrupted the end of the double ad read with your interruption.
What?
Grant Mulligan, known rude co-host.
Rude. I forgot about the middle bit that there's like the
the graphic that separates between segment 1 and segment 2.
Graphic, because I was about to come and criticize you about double ad.
It's pretty clear Grant Mulligan is not a hometown hero.
But
you know who might be? Male. I don't even know what you would call him. Male Swiss Army knife, do it all type player, Antonio Harris. Now, Antonio Harris is not ranked highly. He's ranked just outside of the top 1,000 in the 2025 class. Yes, he has committed to Louisville back in June. Yes, he does have family that has played for Louisville, so he is a legacy recruit. but born and raised in the city, huge Louisville fan, is unapologetically all about Louisville, has the personality that you would want to be the hometown hero. It's just a matter of where you see him to be able to play. Now, he's played everywhere this year, was the star in Males win against St. X at quarterback. He plays wide receiver. Louisville's recruiting him as a defensive back. It's one of those situations to where you find me a place and I'll play there. What are your thoughts on Antonio Harris? What position do you feel like he projects best at the collegiate level?
I'm glad that the staff is recruiting him a defensive back, because when you watch his sophomore tape, while he has a lot of promise and athletic traits that make you excited about him playing as an offensive skill player, wide receiver most likely, maybe even some running back, I liked his defensive back tape, and there was a reason why he put it first. He showed me a lot to like there in terms of ball skills, in terms of physicality. My favorite play on his tape was whenever he had his back, he was beat on a route, and he had his back to the quarterback. And instead of giving up and panicking and getting grabby, he kept his eyes up, played through the hands of the receiver, and got a pass deflection without turning around because of that awareness. So maybe he doesn't, he's not the highest ranked recruit. And, we shouldn't get caught up in star watching. I feel I'm always been a proponent of watching the tape and forming your own opinion about what a kid can and cannot do. But I really like this tape at defensive back, and I'm glad that's where he's going to be. I think his instincts combined with his athleticism, his mentality of I will do whatever it takes for the team to win. And to make him the hometown hero, I mean, he truly, anytime you hear him talk, he clearly embraces the city. He understands the program, what this culture means. I think that he's a guy who could really uplift the program in a positive light if he gets the opportunity to. So I think the hometown hero fits certainly on a personality level. And I think if he can rise to that level of play, and if he continues with this, I'll play wherever you need me to win, then I think it's going to be hard to keep him off the field.
Like I said, I'll reiterate, I think that this is a situation to where, the staff will probably try him out at wide receiver and corner because he has the speed and athleticism. As you all know, I announce basketball for Male. Male's my alma mater. Shout out to Bulldog Nation out there. Antonio plays on the basketball team. He's a lockdown defender. I've seen him with multiple posters. He's got jump out of the gym athleticism, like all the skills of, really quick laterally, that footwork, it oozes over into the basketball side of things, right? So I believe that he has like the speed and athleticism to play either position. I think that he projects more so, for the reasons that you named, better as a defensive back. But I think that this staff is probably it's probably the situation where, okay, let's get him onto campus, try him out at a couple spots, maybe in the spring or summer, and then determine, where he projects best at. He's probably not a guy that's going to play right away. So you have a little bit of time as he gets his body right, learns the college system, and just puts himself into the, the weight room on a consistent level at the college level of things. I think that's the main thing for me. But it feels like guys that, now maybe, Grant, correct me if I'm wrong, but a guy that can do it all. I mean, you're talking about a player that is basically playing like the Lynn Bowden role at quarterback right now. I won't go as far as saying it's like Reggie Bonifant-esque, because I think Bonifant was 100% a better passer.
That he was.
But Antonio Harris is an elite level athlete. And I just feel like with the right coaching, he's got the physical tools to be a really good collegiate player. Am I biased for saying that? Yeah, probably so. I don't care. But that's my hot take, is that Antonio Harris will start at Louisville eventually in his career. These are the types of guys that do become hometown heroes. Like Devontae Parker was not ranked highly. Not every player is Devontae Parker, but you know what I'm saying?
I'm with you, because the thing more than his athleticism and what I just brought up, his football IQ and his instincts around the ball give me a lot of promise about what he can be. It's like he has a lot of the things you can't teach whenever you watch his tape. He just has he just has the nose for the ball, right? And on both the offensive and the defensive side of the ball, he's always around it. He sniffs out plays really well. He's got that awareness. So I really like his mental makeup, and I think he's got a lot of really exciting athletic tools to work with. I think from a body frame perspective, he's 6'1", 170, listed as 6'1", 170. That doesn't put him out of contention for a lot of positions, right? Because you can add muscle on to go receiver, running back.
I mean, I've stood right next to him. Obviously, with me being at the scores table, he's about 6'6'1". He's taller than I am. I'm 5'9", 5'10". So, yes, and he's got that athleticism to be able to high point the football and go up with larger receivers, which I think makes me led to believe that he's going to be better on the boundary for certain. But Grant, I want to save a little bit of time for the famous buy-sell game that we definitely did not create, but we definitely have the best spin on. So we'll dive into that. Coming up, 2 hypotheticals we'll both present. Will one of us go 2 for 2 on the buy-sell? Find out coming up on the next segment of Locked on Louisville. And hopefully I have a full ad read without Grant, trying to interrupt and get me off of my game. But if you're looking to get your health game back on point, Factor is the way to go. Look, I just bought Factor's no prep, no mess meals, and it's helped me get closer to meeting my wellness goals thanks to the menu of chef-crafted meals like options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and even Keto. They have 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week. There are new flavors to explore all the time. You can make your day delicious from breakfast to dessert. Stay fueled with easy, nutritious options. Head to factormeals.com/LockedOnCollege50 and use the code LockedOnCollege50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. Code LockedOnCollege50 at factormeals.com/LockedOnCollege50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is there. Do you have anything you wanted to add to the ad read before we got back in? I know that you've been so eager just to talk about anything.
Okay, man. This dude. Anyways.
This dude.
Welcome to Buy Sell. Okay, I do want to.
This dude?
Is that Jack Plummer? Are you pointing at Jack Plummer?
I'm pointing at Jack Plummer.
This dude. Okay. Anyways.
That dude.
I want to point something out about buy sell, right? You said, will either of us go 2 for 2? The real fans, the real Locked On fans know it's not about going 2 for 2. It's about who poses the more controversial one, the ones that really make you think.
I always knew you were a philosopher, dude.
Huh?
I always knew you were a philosopher, man.
I am a philosopher. That's what makes me.
Well, Mr. Philosopher, what's your first hypothetical?
Okay, I like to think I've got 2 pretty good thinkers here. So I'm going to say, for those of you who watched my episode last week, I know all of you did, and you all liked, and you all subscribed if you're watching on YouTube.
I did have a subscriber spike, and I have reason to believe it was because of your episode.
It is almost all the time that could be attributed to that. That's neither here nor there. Thank you to all the YouTube watchers and also our Apple Music, our Spotify, you're listening wherever. I appreciate you, especially when you show up for my episodes. Hard to blame you. But I am going to say, I'm going to ask my first one. For those who tuned in last week, that's what I started there. For those who tuned in last week,
thanks for kind of circling that back around. You only went on a minute tangent about how you're that guy.
You know I love tangents. Anyone knows. Last week, I unveiled my quarterback rankings for the ACC. This week, I'm going, after watching this last slate of games, buy, sell 3 of the top 5 that I initially presented will be different by the end of the season than they were for the start. There will be 3 new, and I'll go over the 5. I'll go over the 5. And one of them has already gotten benched. So there's one right there for you. Number 1, Cam Ward. Number 2, Kyron Jones. Number 3, Preston Stone. Number 4, Thomas Castellanos. Number 5, Grayson McCall. And there's one of them on there that really
I'm going to buy it. I don't think it's that thought provoking. I'm sorry. You said Preston Stone. He's already gotten benched. So all you got to do is tell me one. I think there's a couple candidates that can get up there. Number 1, Tyler Shuck. I think Tyler Shuck can be a top 5 ACC quarterback. Who he replaces? Will he replace Preston Stone? TBD. So basically, you would have to have someone else step up in there. I won't rule out Cade Klubnik yet after he had a resurrection-like performance against Appalachian State. Kyle McCord is also starting to maybe force me to turn my head a little bit, and I'm still not writing off Haynes King either. So I'm going to buy this, and it's really not particularly – it's not even something that I'm going to think about. I knew I was going to buy it.
Just a slight argument, just to the other side of it. Okay.
Go ahead.
I'm tough on 3, okay? 2, I can see it for sure. And the 2 that Preston Stone is out, Grayson McCall is the other one, the 5th slot. I see sliding down. But with the way Castellanos has played so far, he's a really tough out at the 5. It's going to take risers or him.
So far, it's only been 2 games, and one was against a vastly overrated Florida State team.
That is true. Okay, Cam Ward's not
this weekend.
We'll know a lot after this week. You're right. Cam Ward's not moving. That's one that Cam Ward's not moving.
He's 10.
And Kyron Drones, if he can stabilize his play, is a mainstay in the top 5. So you have to, in this, if you want 3 of them, you have to have one of Castellanos or Kyron Drones drop out. And that is where it gives me pause.
Okay.
Argument out of the way. Let's get into your first one.
All right. Louisville at 10-2 is a lock to make the college football playoff.
Lock is hard because of how they treat the ACC.
Can I give you the 2 losses?
Yeah, give me the 2 losses.
The 2 losses are against Miami and Clemson. So you beat Notre Dame on the road.
That's a good.
You beat Kentucky. You beat Boston College. You lose to 2 teams that are liable to be ranked. 10-2, Louisville, no matter how you slice it, is a lock to make the college football playoff.
Did we make well, you say no matter how I slice it, so it cannot be dependent on whether we make the conference championship game or not.
Right. Do you think Louisville at 10-2
without a conference championship appearance would completely just assuming we've made it before we even get into that conversation? I'm selling.
Right. Basically.
I'm selling. But now, this is not because of Louisville, not because of the wins. This is how they treat the ACC.
Okay, let me do a follow-up.
Go ahead.
Do you think that it's more likely than not that they made the college football playoff? Because lock is a little bit too finalized for this college football playoff committee to F up, and they will.
Yes.
Is it more likely than not? Hopefully you will allow me to introduce an amendment to my question.
I will.
Is it more likely than not? Do you buy that it's more likely than not that they will make it in at 10-2?
More likely than not, yes. So your original one, I'm selling.
I'm selling, and I asked the question.
Okay, so it's not about. It's about
thinking about it.
It's about thinking
about it so much. I amended the question.
So, okay, if we wanted them all to be buys, then I would just say, okay, Tyler Shuck will have one touchdown pass on the season. That's no fun. There's no fun in that.
Okay, so you bought that. What is, due to time constraints, what is your next buy?
My next one. Duke Watson has more career rushing yards in college than Isaac Brown. Rushing yards, not total yards. Rushing yards. For one reason or another, you can give any argument.
Good question. Because I believe in both.
I do believe in both.
I think Duke Watson is going to redshirt this season. I think Isaac Brown is too good to redshirt. Especially, we don't know yet. Don Chaney Jr.'s status is still up in the air with the high ankle sprain that he suffered against Jacksonville State. I imagine we'll probably hear more about that coming this week as we prepare for Georgia Tech. I don't think Isaac Brown can be redshirted with how good he is. Because of that alone, I'm going to sell. I think that I think Isaac Brown's a star, man. I've been the conductor of the Isaac Brown hype train, and I think they're both going to be really good players. But I think Isaac Brown's ability to – and here's the thing about it is Duke Watson might be pound for pound the better running back because of the explosiveness and able to rip off those runs that he's able to. I find it hard to believe that Isaac Brown is going to have less yards. So I'm gonna sell that.
Counter argument, only counter argument.
Yeah,
Duke Watson, I believe, if Isaac Brown is as talented as we think he is, goes to the league sooner. Right?
That's the only thing I was going to say.
Duke also, Isaac Brown, more total yards, more all-purpose by 10 out of 10, 7 days a week. He's got it. Rushing yards. I believe Duke Watson, just right now, he could surprise me, plays longer, more run-centric player. That's my argument. It's not about talent. That's why you got to think about it.
I'm glad you brought up a statistical number. I'm going to bring up one, but it's going to be more so this season. Colin Lacy, we're still waiting to see when he's going to come back, right? It seems like the low-key vibe, now I don't put my name to this, but the vibe feels like he's progressing a little earlier than people thought. I don't know what that looks like in terms of his return, but I would venture into saying that he's back at the very least, Virginia. Very latest. I should say the latest.
Latest, Virginia.
That's the 6th game of the year. Okay.
That's the 6th game of the year. So that's 7 total weeks.
Maybe more. Maybe more. By the end of the season, Colin Lacy will lead this team in receiving yards and receiving touchdowns.
Is that just from the time he comes back, or is that's
all season long?
Sell.
You're going to sell that, okay?
Jamari Brooks.
Okay.
Yeah, sell. I think Jamari Brooks has shown a lot so far. Right. I'm really excited about it. I think if he had not emerged, I would still be willing to buy that because I think Colin Lacy is incredibly talented.
So, for reference, he's averaging about like a little over 80 a game, right?
That's great.
Let's say he stays on that trend, okay? Let's say he's 5 games in, right? He's at 400 yards. Colin Lacy, you would imagine, will be the number 1 target when he comes back. Or he's going to – I think he will be. But I am a huge Jamari Brooks fan as well. I just think there's I think there's a situation where Colin Lacy can be one of those guys that you look up and he's got over 150 receiving yards. I think he's one of those guys, and I think that in the ACC that can definitely help. So it probably is an easier sell, but I'm not shutting the door on buying that, man, because I think Lacy is going to be fed the ball in the Brom offense.
I don't want to shut the door on buying it either because I think he's so explosive.
And that's assuming that Brooks gets 80 at least. I mean, he might get more, might get less.
Yeah, but if we're at that point, it's hard for me to give a receiver a 400-yard head start and the target volume he's getting and the rapport he has with Tyler Shuck, and saying somebody's going to pass him who we haven't seen in this offense yet.
That's fair.
Because that's also 6 games of Tyler Shuck and Jamari Brooks building connection.
Right.
That's my argument. I will not shut the door on it because I do also really believe in Colin Lacy's talent. If you had told me that it's from the point where he returns on, I'd buy it all day.
Okay. That's her. And I think that's fair. Jamari Brooks is a beast, man. He is my hot take is that I think he is closer to Jamari Thrash than people want to give him credit for.
I think you could be right.
That's where I'm at. But we've gone over our time limit for today. It's easy to get over 30 minutes when you have this dynamic duo on the ones and twos talking Louisville sports. That is going to wrap up this Friday edition of the show. We'll be back next week with Georgia Tech prep as Louisville gets beyond the bye week. A lot of stuff to talk about. 1 week to do it. We'll see you right back here coming up on Monday.